Going on, y'all? Fabian Speaks. We are back with another video, man. We're doing a reaction to demonic possession and pornography. The shocking truth revealed, man. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know y'all's thoughts in the comment section down below, man. Check out all the content I've been uploading more recently, short form, long form. And let's get into it, man. Let's go.
That's right. To instruct them, to gain knowledge about, okay, this is how this works, but also to basically help them to grow even greater in virtue. I mean, if the demons are kind of like tempting you towards, say, let's just say lust, they're tempting you towards lust, and you combat that, the degree of your virtue when you come out of it is going to be stronger than if it's just natural human temptation.
That's correct.
Yeah. And so that's a lot of times why God will allow it, so the person becomes even holier, even more virtuous than they would outside that context. The demons actually hate it.
That's crazy work, man. I've seen a lot of people mention this, that like a lot of people say suffer through it versus trying to get God to deliver you from it. And that may sound confusing to people, but it's directly correlating with what he said. I mean, there's a certain level of virtue that's developed and a certain sense of unshakability, if that's even a word, after you come out on top, man. It's kind of like a relentless nature, man. Let's take it back and hear him say that again.
And you combat that, the degree of your tempting you towards, say, let's just say lust, they're tempting you towards lust, and you combat that, the degree of your virtue when you come out of it is going to be stronger than if it's just natural human temptation.
That's correct.
Yeah. And so that's a lot of times why God will allow it, so the person becomes even holier, even more virtuous than they would outside that context. The demons actually hate it, especially when you see in these cases of possession, like as I mentioned, some of these women will become extremely holy, and I'll just mention to the demon, you're becoming this person's instrument of sanctification. They'll admit it's true and they hate it.
Dang. So, a lot of people say they mention the name of Jesus. Obviously, every knee shall bow, every tongue shall confess. But when there are situations in a sense of dire help or need, people have yelled out the name of Jesus in complete restoration, complete saving. Something occurs, right? Even people saying that they're under spiritual attack, spiritual warfare, couldn't come out from under it, yelled the name Jesus, Yeshua, and the darkness completely diminished, man. So evil just shrieks at the sound, at the thought of that light, that glorification, man. Evil runs, flees at the sound of the name of Jesus.
Steps that people can take to avoid being influenced by demons or possessed by them.
Well, the main thing to do is stop sinning, right? Especially the more serious stuff. Like, stop fornicating, stop doing all this stuff, looking at pornography, because pornography is where we're seeing the real uptick in obsession and stuff.
Really? You see this?
Yeah, so the number of people becoming diabolically obsessed through pornography and even possessed, we've seen a drastic uptick in that.
Really?
And yeah. When I was first a priest.
Why is that so surprising? The number one sites in the world are pornography sites. We have an understanding that men naturally have an insatiable thirst for sex. I don't want to tie it to lust, right? Because we know at that point it's crossed the wicked line. But sex is created by God for the sanctification of marriage, or for the confinements of marriage. So, I mean, that's not surprising to me, man. Like, boys watch pornography. It's one thing when you're a kid, and obviously you're a kid, so you do childish things, but when you grow out of it, you know better, right? And you know the destruction it causes. I'm not sure if he's going to get into this, but masturbation, releasing your seed, the more spiritually inclined, the more in tune you get with the Lord, you understand. Like God, the thing about God, he don't need to tell you everything. He's not going to tell you all the rhyme and the reason behind everything. And I say that to say, man, obviously it's laid out in the word to not fornicate, to not have sex before marriage. But why? And a majority of us don't see the detriment in the act, or even after, or even XYZ down the line. Everything is spiritual, right? So you don't even know what kind of harm you're causing yourself and others. But with that being said, young boys, young men have always struggled with this. It's been pornography has always been popular. Sex in general is popular, but I think it's very calculated, man. A lot of the stuff going on, how like we have access to porn sites and it's free and all this and that. Like, yeah, it's getting to the point to where they're gladly giving out access because they want you to drain your seed. And that's where I was going to take it full circle in terms of release. There's a spiritual heightening that a man gets when he's hold on to his semen or he's retained. That's why you see people doing all this retention, semen retention. It's become a popular thing now, but I think for the wrong reasons, right? People think that there's all these benefits you can gain, but naturally God has already called us to be abstinent. So what I'm saying is there's a bigger picture and a reasoning as to why, right? You seem more motivated, you seem more encouraged when you're not having continuous sex or masturbating. There's something about that testosterone as it builds up. It naturally aligns you with purpose and a mission as a man. When you're just completely depleted all the time, you're not putting no work into no endeavors of what God has called you to. So a bigger picture to that is it aligns you with purpose and mission. And it's literally your life force living inside you. It can literally create a child. So think about it in that space, right? The Bible doesn't detail it to that extreme, but I mean, hey, and it's not no placebo. I've done it myself. I practice semen retention myself. Huge difference in the times where I've masturbated and released or had sex and released. Huge difference compared to those times when I was doing that to like now to where I'm abstaining, right? More energy, more focus, more discernment. You feel closer to God, spiritually and heightened. So it's a multitude, man.
So people come to confession to a priest. So when I was first a priest, the guys that would confess pornography, you didn't hear that too often because you had to go buy it. And there was a shame involved. Well, now that it became ubiquitous on the internet, you can do it in the privacy of your home. The number of men that are confessing is almost, it's pretty high up there. And so what we're seeing is that, but also the fact that a lot of the pornography is cursed to increase its addictive effect. That was one of the things that the Satanists taught the people in the porn industry. Curse the master copy, and then from that, the copies that are made will influence the people.
What the
and so
heck?
they do that, and then people become...
So you believe the porn industry is controlled by Satanists?
Bruh. I don't know why I thought that's a stupid question. It's controlled by the kingdom of darkness. I don't know if you want to use the literal term Satanists, but it's controlled by wickedness. What is the root of wickedness and evil? The enemy.
I don't know if it's controlled by it. My impression is these are just bad dudes. For the most part, I think that they're influenced by them.
Of course, that's one and the same.
It doesn't mean that they're...
When you say somebody's a bad dude, what does that align with? Obviously, things that aren't holy, things that aren't of the word.
Aren't Satanists that are involved in the porn industry. I suspect there probably are, but I just think that it's they're the ones who taught them this is what you do, and this will boost the addictive effect of it. And so there's one exorcist. It wasn't me, but there was another exorcist that I know of who's a good friend of mine. He had a case where the guy became possessed, and finally there's a certain stage where the demon gets weak enough you can compel him. How did you get in? And he said pornography.
I believe that.
And so then after the session, he asked the guy, what's the, what happened? And he said, yeah, it was, he said, I would believe it's pornography. He said, I watched this one pornography that had this one woman on it. And then after that, something snapped or changed. And from that point on, I had to see every piece of pornography she ever made. I was just driven obsessively to find her. So this is so that's one of the ways that they get in. So to answer your question, there's a few things. One is prayer and fasting. You pray. You should be praying regularly anyway. As a Christian, you should be praying. And if you're praying regularly, you can pray for your own protection. That's actually one of the reasons I gave you the book Deliverance Prayers for the Laity, which is right there. But that book actually contains a number of prayers that are drafted. You don't have to use those. You can use your own. But this gives you kind of an outline or a structure. They say, okay, this is how this works. So consistent prayer life, a disciplined prayer life. You have to be very disciplined. The second part of it is fasting, which is also true.
Wow, y'all. I don't know. It's just to hear it come from an exorcist is kind of different, right? Because they typically communicate with the demonic presence, right? You've seen obviously haven't experienced an exorcism face to face, but you've seen in movies The Exorcist where, the exorcist is casting out the demon. He's actually asking the name of the demon, communicating, and the demon speaks back, right? He's emphasizing that he had a situation, right? Or I guess he was doing an exorcism to where the demon told him that he entered through pornography. And then on top of that, him mentioning that some of the master copies of some of these porn films are cursed, or it's just crazy the depth in which the wickedness goes, right? And this ties into a video I watched prior, which was talking about fasting. I want to say I did a reaction to it earlier. I'm not sure. Yeah, I want to say I did, or I saw something regarding it, but basically how what was it? What was it? A woman was on a plane and she saw that another lady sitting next to her was fasting, and she kind of asked her about if she was fasting or not. The woman said yes. After that, she followed with, "Oh, are you a believer?" As to why you're fasting. The woman said, "No, I'm not a believer. I'm not a Christian. I'm actually a witch." The woman mentioned she was a witch and mentioned that she practiced fasting to heighten her spiritual ability and capability as they started to place curses on preachers' kids, or the children of preachers. Imagine that. The dark side, the enemy's forces are fasting now because they understand how it heightens you in the spirit. And the dude who mentioned this was just saying it's so crazy how us as believers are so lackluster. You have the enemy's camp who's diving into more or less some of the practices or some things that actually are in the word that as believers we're called to do for warfare. We don't do these things. We're gluttonous. We don't fast. You look at the enemy's camp, they don't even believe or side with Jesus or God, but they're doing these things to oppose the light. That's just crazy to me, the extremes, right? But then it helps you understand how serious these things are. It helps you understand at a transparent level, it's not a game. It's not a game, man. And that's why you really got to cast all sin aside, man. Don't be a part of it. Don't be a part of it. Of course, like, we'll be tempted, but the best bet is to just do your best to die to your flesh, man. To die to your flesh. So comment down below. Let me know y'all's thoughts on this in the comment section below. We'll definitely see y'all in the next one, man. Peace, love, prosperity. God bless. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life.